Welcome to Peace of Mind for Pet Parents, the podcast by BrightHaven Caregiver Academy. I'm Gail Pope.
And I'm Karen Wylie. And together we're here to support you in navigating life with your aging or ill pets. We know how deeply you care for your beloved companions, and we're here to offer guidance, understanding, and resources for this meaningful journey.
Each episode, we'll explore topics that address the daily challenges, emotional realities, and choices you face as a pet parent, helping you and your pets find peace, comfort, and joy. Whether it's making sense of a new diagnosis, adjusting to changing needs, or simply seeking a place to feel understood, you're not alone. Thank you for being here with us.
Hello, and welcome to Peace of Mind for Pet Parents. I'm Karen Wylie, here as always with my dear friend Gail Pope. Today we're going to be taking a pause, taking a moment to reflect. As this year comes to a close, we're just going to be reflecting on the many conversations that we have had with pet parents who love deeply, worry constantly, and are doing the very best they can with their aging or ill pets. If there's one thing that we've learned, it's that caregiving really isn't about getting everything right. It's about being present, staying present, trusting with your eyes and your pet, and listening to your own intuition. For those of you listening who've been on this journey with your own pet this year, we know that this year may have been among the hardest in your life. We're glad that you've allowed us to walk alongside you. Today's conversation is really about what this year has taught us about caring about animals and about the wisdom that emerges for all of us when we slow down. Gail, when you step back and think about this past year and all the pet parents that we've talked to and heard from, what feels most important to you about aging and ill pets? What have the pet parents been teaching you this year?
There are so many things. The first thing that actually springs to my mind is the word community, having someone to talk to. We all have different beliefs, different understandings, different choices. And I think it can be that many of us feel very alone because we're focused on this. The lady next door or my friend up the road doesn't approve of feeding this or that. It can be isolating. So I think kindness, compassion for ourselves as well as for others is perhaps the thing that stood out for me most this year of how much community and kindred spirits mean.
This year, we've introduced a couple of different opportunities for us to have an ongoing conversation with pet parents. We've had our Caregivers Membership Hub, where people who have pets that they're caring for can be checking in or just listening to the conversation. And then, of course, on Thursdays, we have our Cuppa and Conversation, where people can share ideas and also ask a lot of questions. So we have had community in a different way ourselves this year, where we're having more opportunities to hear directly from pet parents about what they are concerned about and what they're interested in learning about, not always about the one pet in front of them.
Yeah, that's true. It's just been a delightful year again of meeting kindred spirits. We don't all agree on different methods and different ways, and yet everybody really is interested in learning about all the differences because we're learning the things that we might have missed or we've neglected, or one or two of us may have had a difficult time with an animal approaching the end of life. It's just so beautiful to see everybody gathering together to be of support. For me, it's different and it's absolutely beautiful because I'm used to one-on-one conversations for the most part in consultation. I'm the consultant and doing my best. But when you see a group of people coming together to do their best for each other, it ebbs and flows back and forth from one to the other, and someone else joins in. I'm also wondering about the conversation goes round and it's beneficial for everybody. Yeah, I think that's probably a really wonderful lesson.
I agree. And the conversation can be very free flowing. It can be very focused for a while, but we're also interested in every aspect of our pets' lives and trying to do better all the time. All the time, which is so wonderful.
You've just got number two. I don't know if you've got a list of questions, but for me, number two, you just brought up, which would be learning. Although we're in community and we're helping each other, at the same time, we're learning different methods, all sorts of different things. Education is probably in our top little list of things that we want to help people. We want to help educate them. Perhaps I hadn't realized how much I wanted to still educate myself.
Oh, that's interesting.
How important that is. We're learning new things every day.
What has stimulated your interest again in learning yourself? Is it because of the community and being able to listen to other people as opposed to being in that consultant role all the time?
Yes, I think you're probably right. I think it probably is. It's interesting to down two different avenues
Yeah.
and receive so many blessings from each one in very different ways. And to make friends, knowing that you're not alone is a really big issue, isn't it, for most of us?
It's really big. I think that's one of the things I told you the first time you and I had a one-on-one conversation on Zoom. It was just when we were comparing notes about what each of us had learned about death and dying through our pets. It was such a wonderful conversation because neither of us knew that many people who would ever understand.
Yeah, we just couldn't stop talking, could we?
And we still can't, which is the most wonderful aspect of continuing to work together.
There's always so much to say. And if we lived in a world without animals, I'm sure it would be very different. It becomes more about the heart, doesn't it, when animals are involved in the conversation?
Oh, absolutely. It doesn't have the drama that human relationships can have. There's such a purity to them, to our relationships with our pets, I think, that allows you to just focus on what you're feeling with them.
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed.
Very often, when we work with individuals who come to us about caregiving, when they start out, they're very focused on fixing the problem, curing the condition that might be at play, and wanting to really have a certainty about what they should do and what they should not do. I'm thinking of the pet parent, often like myself, wants to keep trying supplement after supplement to support their animal with whatever's going on. Others choose to have specialist after specialist and get opinions all the time or different vets. They're always looking for the right answer that's going to make everything okay and perhaps cure what's going on with their pet. So, what do you notice when the focus becomes more about what you encourage everyone to do, which is to focus on comfort, connection with your pet, quality of life, and some of these softer, ongoing day to day issues rather than curing and fixing?
That brings up for me something that I've mentioned to you for sure, I know recently, and it's become a big topic for me. And maybe it's something that I have been learning a lot, not only this year, but in previous years too. That's very simply said by letting go. You just raised that chord again for me, talking about the different avenues and the different choices, worrying if I do this, would that work? And what about this? Should I try that product? I think when you let go and you come into a different state of being, then you're in a better place to be able to actually figure out what should or shouldn't I try. Maybe we actually have a good balance for where we are right now. Maybe love, a little exercise, good food, maybe that's all we need, or maybe it's not. But once you let go of all of that, I got to do better, you just step off that treadmill and it becomes easier. Sometimes there isn't anything else to really do. I know a lot of people suddenly want to change from treating conventionally to holistically or vice versa. 9 times out of 10, depending on the situation, obviously, but for the most part, advise them to follow their heart. Does it really feel right to you at this point in his or her life to completely change so much? Would you want to do that in your life as you get older? Someone suggested you should become a vegetarian and you'd eaten meat all your life and you're thinking, oh, I'm getting old. I wonder if I should. How many of us actually would make a huge change? I think animals are the same. If you're set in your ways, it's difficult to make changes. That's not at all saying that we shouldn't sometimes, but I think there's a lot to be said for when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Sometimes we can act a little bit too heavily on that side and try too much and really change the picture for the
Right.
worse instead of the better.
If you and your animal are fortunate enough to find an equilibrium where everything seems to be going well, you have to question whether you really want to upset the apple cart at that point. Because it could well be that you have found your answer with the balance that has been found. One thing that I think really stood out for me this year is how often our pets are very clear about what they want or sometimes what they don't want, and how often their parents, their owners, doubt what they're seeing. I'm curious, why do you think trusting what each of us see can be so hard for us?
Well, the obvious first answer there is because we're human. We've grown up, we've evolved into a culture now that wants to fix everything. So even if we've got a human or an animal who's living their best life and happy with it, we often still want to fix things. Why don't we try this and that will bring this and you'll feel better? We constantly are looking for the next step up, aren't we? In everything.
It really does seem to be true. I think that's one of the reasons why, when we're developing tools for people to have, like the observation forms or the living quality of life care assessment, it's all to try to take it from what they think they see to being able to write down exactly what they did see.
That's true.
And hoping that maybe if they're seeing the patterns there in their own handwriting, that they can begin to trust that what they're seeing is the truth, whether or not it's what they want to be seeing.
That's true. That's true.
What feels different now than earlier in the year? Because we started our podcast in late January.
For me, I think what feels different, number one, is I'm more confident than I ever used to be. I'm still embarrassed to talk like this every week. It's embarrassing. I'm just not used to it. And I probably never will get used to it. However, I feel more comfortable to talk about the kinds of things that we do talk about, which we haven't had that opportunity or even thought about doing it in the past. It's lovely to see that the work, for me especially, it's almost a legacy because the work that I've done for so many years, taught by so many animals, is finally feeling like it's coming full circle. It's turning into a legacy. People actually are applauding the things that I've learned. Whereas before I was always a little embarrassed to share because it didn't seem terribly medical, maybe, or I don't have a string of letters after my name other than Tabby and Calico and and Dachshund, probably.
Yeah, really. Yeah, all you have is observing over 700 animals and learning from them, which is an
Also,
amazing thing.
I do have to say that I do tend to go to the animal side first, but I probably shouldn't because in the early days of BrightHaven and the middle ones, and probably still moving forward, there have been certain people who have come into my life as my teachers on a different level. I've learned more than I can say from those people too. So I think as long as we remain open, there's always something new to learn, isn't there?
Oh, that's the truth.
I think the trick is allowing it to seep into you without actively trying to learn and take tests and do examinations. But when life and learning just appear for you to absorb them, that's what seems to have happened to me in the last year. I really love it.
It's been an amazing year learning for me. This year, it's been more learning from pet parents directly, having the opportunity here as we've had the community hub and we've had the weekly conversations with pet parents in our cuppa and conversation. It's really been taken my own caregiving ideas. New depth, I think, would be the way to describe it for me, because I'm generally been good about following my instincts for my pet in front of me. But being able to speak with so many different pet parents about their pets and their situations, it just broadens everything. It's just wonderful. So, is there anything that surprised you about this year and what you've been learning?
Probably, I think the one thing that has surprised me is that I don't know how to express it. I seem to know more than I think I do, if that makes any sense at all. This is something that I've learned from you because you've asked me to talk about something and I say, I don't know anything about that. Then you've turned it around and asked me odd questions. And yes, of course I know that. So I think that's probably a really big thing for me. I never really acknowledged the truth of that before.
That's why I knew these conversations every week would not only be something we would enjoy doing and would learn something just from our conversations back and forth, but I felt they would be very valuable to other people. What you have learned over 35 years of caring for animals is just extraordinary. And yet I find it so funny. I know you've heard me say this before, but back in September, right after you had lost both Percy and Andy, we were talking several times a day, as we do, and I was understanding how difficult it was to lose them. And I was thinking, oh my God, I wonder if she's ready to share this with other people. I asked you if you would be willing to have me ask you some questions with the hope that it could be a podcast conversation that others would hear. Your response was, oh God, that's not a topic. That'll be 5 minutes. What are we going to talk about the rest of the time? And here we are toward almost the end of December, and it's the highest rated podcast episode of the whole year.
My goodness, that's interesting because on reflection, having listened to you say that, I think the one thing that I've learned more about this year is grief. And I've been through a huge amount of grief in my life. Baby steps I learned all the way along when my husband died, and that was over 2 years ago. But somehow this year, losing Percy, losing Andy, and before that, losing Rosie and Ziggy, the move from Southern California to Northern California, I guess it all must have come together because it was time for me to really come face to face with that word, what it really means, and how we all work our way through it or to it. I don't think we actually work through it. It sits with us. I don't think grief ever goes away. What is that beautiful poem that I read recently? Grief is love. It doesn't go away. It's the love that we still want to express that is tied up inside of us, and it flows out in the tears. I think when you look at grief from the love aspect, that has to be one of the things that really stands out for me this year.
It obviously stood out with a lot of our listeners and viewers because, as I said, the number of downloads that we got on that episode, the amount of emails you were getting within the first 12 hours after that episode coming out. I think the grief that you were describing and the emotional chords you were feeling really hit home for a lot of people. They very much understood. And I think it helped a lot of people.
It probably helped me as much as anybody else because it also taught me one of the lessons that I always try to share with people is share, care, reach out to everybody else around you. I think in grief, we tend to bring it in rather than let it out, rather than share. We tend to almost hibernate on top of it. It's something that we really should live with. It is part of our life. And it's a really important topic.
I think it flows into what you so often encourage everyone to do, and that is to just stay present, to deal with what is happening when it's happening, to not swallow it, to not shove it down, and to not put it away till a more convenient time. I think the pet parents that we've been hearing from this year have taught so much about courage and love and showing up when it's really hard to do, trusting the bond that you have with your animal, because that's what really matters. So wherever you are on this path right now, whether you're just beginning to see changes in your pet or you're deep in caregiving, maybe even navigating grief, as Gail has been describing for her the last couple of years. We hope this conversation reminds you that you are not alone. The love you bring to your pet every day truly matters. As we head into a new year, we'll continue bringing you conversations that we hope make this caregiving path a little clearer and a lot less lonely. We have some new resources launching in January that we will be excited to share with you. We're grateful that you're part of this community. So thank you for walking this path with us. Thank you for trusting us with your stories. And thank you for the love you show your animals every day. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you for joining us on Peace of Mind for Pet Parents. We hope today's episode has offered you support and insight as you care for your aging or ill pets.
Remember, it's not just about the end, it's about living well at every stage of life. To continue your journey with us, explore more resources at BrightHaven Caregiver Academy's website, brightpathforpets.com. BrightHaven.com, where you'll find guides, assessments, and a caring community of pet parents like you.
Until next time, may you and your pets find comfort, connection, and peace in every moment. Take care.